What's going on, guys? This is Goose. I'm here with my brother Doak. We're breaking down Week 4, 2025 MHSAA football action. Doing a little bit of a longer format. You've been seeing some of our clips put out on social media the last few weeks. We're going to do a little longer format this week. So we're going to jump into the data here. Doak's got an agenda for us. We're just going to keep it snappy, roll through, man. We got a ton of stuff here. So let's go. Doak?
Thanks for joining us for this podcast. We're kind of starting up here, and hopefully we can get better as we go on. But we're going to do a little bit of Week 4 review here, a little bit of Week 5 preview, and maybe a little bit of playoff outlook for the season, getting a little past halfway. So, yeah, let's jump into it.
So this is our this is not very zoomed in here. Sorry for those listening. That means nothing to you. I'm going to zoom in so people can see this. This is kind of our new method we're using to track what the best games are in the state each week. It's the Goose Poop game score. We've elaborated on that in previous clips and some social media posts. But essentially it takes, hey, where are the games between the best teams and where are the games that are supposed to be tight games? So those two metrics, how good is the team, how close is the game? And it scores them both. And then it says, okay, find me the games between good teams that are going to be close and sort. And so last week we identified all these games that were supposed to be good games. Calumet and Menominee was number 1. Many think maybe the battle for the UP this year. We'll see. But of course, that's kind of what we had. We had Toledo Central Catholic and Warren De La Salle. Always, going to see those CHSL D1 or Central Division games in the top ones. Caledonia and Granville. Okay, no surprise, you're going to see the OK Red games in there every week. Martin Luther King and Cass Tech, also no surprise. Dakota, Stevenson, Brighton, Heartland, etc., etc. You saw our posts. So how did things shake out? I will say this, at a high level, we projected 246 scores coming out of week 3 when we dropped our first computer model. We were right on 82.5% of them. So there was 40 per our computer model. After 3 weeks of data, there was only 43 upsets. Now, many of those were in our top games. So if I go here and I look,
Menominee upset Calumet. I think they were a 1-point dog, or what was it?
1-point dog. Menominee beats Calumet by 10. And so 25-15.
Warren De La Salle is projected to have a close game there with Toledo Central Catholic, Toledo Central Catholic. It was a 3-point spread, and they ended up getting beat by 4 scores. So that didn't play out as the model projected. And then we had, what was our third game? Oh, Caledonia Granville.
So the spreads were off, guys. The important part is the model got the winner right 82.5% of the time. The spreads are off sometimes, though. And, they're off quite frequently, but those are kind of some of the bigger results that we were on. So on the computer model accuracy, right, there's 43 games that we got the winner wrong on out of the 247 last week. Those 43, the single largest upset was E-Course over Michigan Collegiate. We had Michigan Collegiate as the number 1 team in D6, and we had them winning by quite a big margin. We had them winning by 60, and they lost by 2, 18-16 to E-Course. Now, guys, this is early in the year, so you don't have a lot of data on a lot of these teams yet. So I attribute a lot of this big gap to just not having enough data points 3 weeks into the season, because you don't really see 60-point upsets when the model's got all of the data flowing through. You'll probably see the single largest upset be a 30-point upset every week. And so just kind of keep tabs on that. It's certainly a great win for E-Course. I don't want to diminish it, but I attribute that huge point swing just being like, we didn't have enough data on Michigan Collegiate. I also think Michigan Collegiate had only played 2 games. I think their third game was a forfeit or something. So that definitely kind of contributes to things right there. Dope can correct me if I'm wrong there. Our second biggest upset's Rockford over EK. EK had come out swinging to start the year. They were our number 1 team in D1. They had an incredibly impressive set of results, a huge win over Byron Center and a huge win over Jenison. So their computer rating was shooting up off the charts. Anytime you're a team where you win by a large point margin, the computer model is going to give you a great score. Now that kind of took a back seat this week because Rockford was able to upset them per the computer model. Rockford beating East Kentwood 21-14. The computer model had Rockford as a 35-point underdog. Now, obviously, same kind of thing here, guys. We've only got 3 weeks of data, so there's not a lot to go off of. Rockford was put as an underdog here, a huge underdog. Obviously, that was probably not correct. If we go, I'm going to fast forward here just a second. If we go and look at where the computer rating stands with this result plugged in, the projection on the game becomes much narrower. It's no longer a 35-point spread. It's like a single-digit point spread. So obviously, earlier in the year, we're just trying to get more data fed into the model. That's why the result was crazy, but still a great win. Again, not trying to diminish the win here. Rockford over East Kentwood. Other big results up in the Jack Pine, Gladwin over Clare. Rivalry game there. Gladwin beats Clare 28-26 by 2 points. Clare was expected to win by 34. So that's a fairly large upset. Again, if we look at post week 4 with that in hand, Gladwin, Clare, the gap has narrowed considerably between Gladwin and Clare, but Clare would still be expected to win this game if it was played again. So again, a little bit of that same story. I think this is going to be a theme here with these upsets in the early season here while we're still getting data. It was just a big fat point spread because we just didn't have that much data on either team. So that's another one. Other 30-point upsets, GRC, Grand Rapids Christian over Spring Lake, Wyandotte Roosevelt over Southgate Anderson, Vandercook Lake over Addison. Vandercook Lake new back in 11-man this year, I believe. I believe it's their first year back in 11-man this year. So congrats to them. Cabrini over Everest. Redford Westfield Prep over Southfield Bradford. Detroit Community over Pontiac Arts and Tech. A big one in the CHSL Central. Detroit Catholic Central over Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Detroit Catholic Central was a 22-point underdog coming into the game, and wins by 2 scores. If we jump forward to where this is going to leave the two teams, Detroit Catholic Central is going to be your number 1 team in D1 this week. Okay, I'm just going to cut to the chase off of that result. So congrats to the Shamrocks. If I compare that to Orchard Lake, DCC is now favored over Orchard Lake. So big thing, that's a huge result swing in the computer model rating. So just kind of know that. So anyways, those are kind of your big upsets this week where the team who won was favored or was an underdog by more than 3 scores. Obviously, a huge one there with eCourse over Michigan Collegiate, eCourse being a 62-point underdog. I really attribute that to just early season woes with the data. But again, computer was pretty accurate. 82.5% of the games. 204 of the 247 games we got right. So well done, computer. Doke, anything?
No, I mean, just week in review. All in all, the computer model was accurate, but it had 4 number 1s that lost games this week. So there's just a huge swing in the data from week 3 to week 4, and you guys will see that when it comes to the rankings and projections this week. So.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the superlatives, just kind of some of the weirder results, I think. So most points scored in any game was Comstock Park over Holland, 56-53, 109 points. That was a crazy game if you were there. I mean, anytime you see both teams score that many points and the outcome be that close at the end, impressive. So congrats to Coach Sams on the victory there. Also, congrats on the weekly superlative appearance. Most points scored. Fewest points scored. Detroit Henry Ford over Detroit East English. That's a 6-0 result. Now, I'm going to give a little shout out here to a game where there was only 8 points scored. So the next one up, Redford Westfield Prep over Southfield Bradford. That's a 6-2 result. Yes, you heard that right, 6-2. I don't know if that would is that scoregami, Doke, in the NFL? Has there ever been a 6-2 result? You don't see a lot of those.
I would guess so.
So check that out. Those are the least and fewest points. We're going to look at the highest margin of victory now. Detroit Central over Detroit Douglas, 78-0.
Yeah, Detroit Central comes in with the most points scored this week. That's probably the most so far this year, 78.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see another one that's bigger than 78-0. So
let's take a look at how many shutouts there were this week.
44 shutouts.
44, just about in line with the average this year. I think there was 43 last week, so
I think you're always going to have about 44 shutouts.
yeah, not too bad, not out of the ordinary. Let's jump to how many upsets this week there were. I mean, we already talked about this. There was 43, 44.
43, I think. 43 upsets.
Yeah, you'll notice 43 upsets is a much lower number than what's been on the superlatives so far, and that's because we were able to run the model last week, so we have data from this year, so it's much more accurate. So that number went down from about 50% of the games to less than 20% of the games, and that'll be more typical moving forward. But about 40 some upsets, and it honestly should get lower and lower as we get better at projecting these football games. So let's take a look at the top offenses and defenses so far this year. Do we have that data?
You can see here, there are only 2 teams in the state who have only allowed no points, and that's Portage Central and Dearborn Divine Child. Puama Westphalia, though, they're pretty close, only giving up 3.
White Pigeon right there as well, giving up 3 points a game. Montrose giving up 3 points a game. Beale City with a stout defense giving up 4.25 points a game, and just behind them is Springport and Portland at 4.5. So we have some typical suspects there up towards the top of the best defenses. Portland, Beale City, Montrose, Portage Central, Divine Child, all put together solid teams.
West Bloomfield, D1 team. There's a D1 team only allowing, I guess Portage Central is D2, so, I mean, very impressive out of Portage Central. West Bloomfield only allowing less than a touchdown a game so far. Yep. Reed City as well, Michigan Collegiate as well. Charlevoix, Ludington, Laker, Shrine Catholic, Rochester Adams, Saginaw Valley Lutheran, Ida, Cabrini, Dakota, Hudson, Lutheran North, and we'll kind of cut the cutoff there. All of those teams are allowing only 1 score a game. So congrats to those guys for playing big defense. Let's jump over to the other metric. Everybody always loves points. And so we're going to look at that. And we're going to sort by ascending and descending. Your number 1 offense in the state is Ann Arbor father Gabriel Richard. Scoring 54 points a game right now.
Yeah. Wow. Coming off, they just won 56-0. So
the Irish.
Saw that. They're ripping
looking at them. I haven't even looked at them.
They're ripping it up.
The Irish are scoring lots of points. Riverview Gabriel Richard last year was in the D8 state final. So no slouch of an opponent. They have scored. They're tearing it up. So congrats to Father Gabriel Richard. They're really, really doing well. Ithaca always scores a lot of points. 51 points a game. Wow. Saline, 50 points, including a 61-point result against Dexter last week.
Yeah, that's impressive.
White Pigeon always scoring a lot of points. They're always up here. Every year we do this. Portage Central, not only on one of the best defenses in the state, only one of 2 to not give up any points. They are in the top 10 for points scored as well. Yeah. Top 5 for points scored.
Yeah, we could point to White Pigeon for that as well. I mean, White Pigeon is giving up 3 points a game and scoring 49.5. Portage Central, 49.5 points a game, giving up 0. Mama was right there, 49.5 points a game, and I think they're giving up 3. So, I mean, these teams are rolling competition right now, and maybe they had a weaker first part of the schedule, maybe not. Time will tell. But that is, I mean, those teams are.
Hey, anytime you're not giving up any points and you're scoring a lot of points, and you're doing that consistently across 4 weeks, and among 500 Michigan teams, you're in the top 10 in both categories. I'll just cut to the chase for you, Dope. You got a good team. So, good. Congrats to those teams that are appearing on both lists here. So that is that. Doke, you want to jump to ratings? Guys, we don't have sponsors on this podcast. Why would you have a sponsor on a podcast that we don't even know if anyone listens to, right? This is our first one putting it out. But I will tell you, the reason we do this, outside of just our love for Michigan high school football, is that we also want to tell you about our other product, the thing that we do full-time, which is TeamFi. TeamFi is, at TeamFi, we do free digital fundraisers for teams. My brothers and I, we started it. We started for my dad. My dad's a high school football coach in the state, and he was sick and tired of running fundraisers where he doesn't keep all the money. So that's what TeamFi's fundraisers help you do. We do a number of different ones. We got crowdfunding. We help you do lift-a-thons or free throw-a-thons if you're a basketball coach. Those are really fun. Our newest product is probably our best one. It's our calendar fundraiser. Guys, check it out. You do a calendar fundraiser, every kid's going to raise $496. So check that out. You can head to our website, www.teamfi.works. We've helped a lot of different teams in the state. We've helped teams across the country. We're probably in 40 to 45 states right now and growing, and we'd love to help your guys' team out. So check our website out, www.teamfi.works. You can get started on a free digital fundraiser today. So let's jump to our rankings. We're going to go quickly through this because no one wants to hear me break down all of top 10s. Okay. But let's just jump through this. I think the big one in D1 that you're going to see is EK is out of the number 1 spot. They're still at 3, so don't discount the Falcons there. But the new number 1 is DCC. And that's based off a 2 touchdown win over Orchard Lake, who was going into this week your overall number 1 team in the state. So congrats to the Shamrocks. Well earned, well deserved. They were in the spot mode for most of last year as well. And so something to watch out there. DCC certainly always, of recent, one of the better teams in the state, and they are your overall number 1, I believe. So Saline is at 2. Incredibly impressive win over Dexter, scoring a lot of points on Dexter and actually winning by several scores there. So their ranking shoots up. Congrats. EK slides a bit after losing to Rockford, but they're still quite high. Number 3 team in D1. Grand Blanc up a bit. I think they had a nice win. I can't remember their opponent, but Grand Blanc's at 4. Adams at 5. West Bloomfield at 6. Rockford at 7. Rockford coming up quite a bit after scoring a nice dub against East Kentwood. It's funny. Rockford would still be an underdog if they played East Kentwood again today. They would be a 4-point underdog. And so just keep tabs on that because, as we know, in the OK Red, you're going to play each other again in the playoffs. So just something to watch out on and what that game spread is going to be over the next few weeks. Woodhaven, your surprise team, right? We were talking about this last week. They were rated number 4 last week. They're down at 9. Now, guys, I did some investigation, and there is the Downriver League. They all play each other. They have only 1 non-conference game, so it's incredibly hard to rate the Downriver League until you get all of those non-conference games, right? It's like a bubble. You know how good the teams are inside the bubble, but you don't know how good the bubble is compared to everything else. There is 1 non-conference game that's holding this Woodhaven rating, and that is Woodhaven's result against Ann Arbor Huron. And none of the other Downriver teams, I think, have played outside the league yet. Someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but it's close to that. And so it's very hard to rate the Downriver League. That is why Woodhaven's result here has dropped. They've dropped to 9 here or 8. Then that's because of what I just said. They have that result against Ann Arbor Huron. Ann Arbor Huron's played the likes of Dexter. Dexter's rating just went down this week because they lost by several scores to Saline. So just check that out. Woodhaven sliding. We'll see where they settle at. As we get more data on the Downriver League, we'll see where Woodhaven settles. Clarkston at 9. Is that 9? Yep. And then Cass Tech making an appearance here at 10. So again, many people's number 1 team in the state, Cass, is rated by our model at 10. You can tell. I'd be interested to see who'd disagree or who'd agree. Cass is an 18-point underdog if they played Catholic Central today. So let's go to your number 1 team in 2 is Orchard Lake St. Mary's still. But, guys, the gap has narrowed. Portage Central, we just talked about them. They're leading a lot of statistical categories across the state. They've yet to give up a point. The Mustangs are only a 4-point underdog, 3.5-point underdog to Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Something to keep tabs on there, how narrow that spread stays or how wide it gets. But it's looking like a date, with destiny of Orchard Lake St. Mary's and Portage Central in the state finals. There is really not any two teams close to them. The next closest is Muskegon, who's a 10-point dog to Portage Central right now. Dexter, who's an 11-point dog to Portage Central. Dexter's rating just dropped quite a bit after losing to Saline. Midland Dow. I'm not sure we had them in here last week in the top 10. Dope.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Maybe lower. Definitely lower if they were in it.
They made a big jump. They made a big jump this week. One of our bigger, their rating has gone up by 2 touchdowns. They are our number 5 team in D2. Roseville, D6, 6th best team, always highly rated. Roseville. Mona Shore's always in there at number 7. Brother Rice making an appearance. They're climbing, guys. They're climbing. Rating just shot up 11 points. That's 9. And then Carlson at 10. Carlson's at 9. Grove's at 10. So that's your 2. I'm going to jump to 3. Mount Pleasant is your new number 1. I think we had MLK at number 1 last week. MLK's rating slides a bit after losing to Cass in a game that we had them favored on. So King is down at 3. Your 2 spot is Lowell. So, guys, we've got the top 2 in D3 are Mount Pleasant and Lowell. I think that's probably going to surprise some people against who's like historically at the top of D3, which is usually like an MLK DeWitt show. Now, those teams aren't far off, right? MLK's 3, DeWitt's at 5. A fun stat here is EGR's at 4 with a rating of 33. They lost 40-7 week 1 to Lowell. Lowell's at 44. So if Lowell played EGR again, the model would have that Lowell as an 11-point favorite, which is crazy after you beat that opponent by 33 in week 1. So that's something interesting to watch out. Lowell and EGR, obviously historical rivals, and could play again in that first couple weeks of playoffs. So something to watch out. I just talked about DeWitt. I want to talk about Kennewaw Hills. Lowell and Kennewaw Hills are in the RCA conference. That's a new conference as of last year. They are going to play not this week, but next. All of the indications say that's going to be for the title here. And you've got Lowell, who's number 2 in D3, Kennewaw Hills at number 6 in D3. That is a game to watch. Right now, Lowell would be an 11-point favorite. Trenton at 7. De La Salle sliding a bit after a loss by quite a good margin against Toledo Central Catholic. Their rating has slid. They are now down here at 8, number 8 team in D3. Niles, D4 state finalist last year, is at 9. Fenton, rounding out D3, number 10. So that is your top 10. Something else here, I'll just quickly bring up Cedar Springs is 11. I mentioned the RCA title race. It might be between Lowell and Kennewaw, but or at least that's what I'm predicting. But not if Cedar Springs has anything to say about it. Cedar just lost to Kennewaw, a close one. Cedar's going to play Lowell this week. And if Cedar beats Lowell, then very, very high potential that Kennewaw wins outright, or you have a 3-way tie. So, again, something to keep tabs on there. Cedar is team 11 here. And honestly, the RCA making a tough case for being the toughest D3 league this year. They've got 3 inside the top 11, Cedar, Kennewaw, and Lowell. Okay, so let's jump down to 4. I want to jump down to 4. Harper Woods is still your number 1, but guys, that gap has narrowed considerably. Actually, they would only be a 1-point favorite over Unity, your number 2 team in D4. Then there's a tier below that of Big Rapids, Portland, Ludington, Dearborn, Divine Child, and Goodrich. All of those teams are not separated, are only separated by a touchdown. That kind of next tier down. Divine Child, you'll remember, is one of the other teams that is yet to allow an offensive point. So check that out. Rounding out the top 10 is Williamston, Vicksburg, and Harper Creek. Harper Creek sitting at number 10. Harper Creek's got a good game against Kennewaw this week, I believe. A little non-conference, sneaky non-conference. That's going to show up on one of our best games this week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Divine Child's also got best game this week. So that'll be interesting. All right, so let's jump to 5. Okay. What is 5? Is 5 the same old, same old? A little bit, but we've traded places. GRCC is no longer your number 1 team in D5. They've been slightly, and I mean slightly, edged out by Frankenmuth. Frankenmuth is 0.3 points better rated in Catholic Central, which means the game, if they played today, would be a pick'em. Frankenmuth and GRCC, obviously no strangers to each other. I feel like they played every year in the semifinals going back to the year 1900. So that's your 1 and 2. Your 3 is what I would call the surprise team of the year right now, which is Swan Valley. They are just as highly rated as Frankenmuth and GRCC, and they are number 3 in D5. Ogemaw Heights, number 4. Armada, 5. Now, here's an interesting one, guys. Richmond just beat Armada. That's a rivalry game. BWAC, some would say the little SEC of Michigan. Richmond just beat Armada, but Richmond still rated lower than Armada at Richmond at 7 in D5, while Armada's 5. Michigan Center is in between them at 6. West Catholic is down at 8. Pontiac Notre Dame Prep, last year's reigning champion, is 9. In Kingsford, representing the UP, rounds out the 10 spot. So interesting there. Just watch out. Right now, the computer says it's a 3-headed race between Frankenmuth, Catholic Central, and Swan Valley. But you've got a tier of teams there in the middle that might have something to say about it too. So let's jump to 6. Six is no strangers. Okay, St. Francis and Lumen Christi are heading up 6. St. Francis right now would be a 4-point favorite over Lumen Christi. We're going to really get an even better feel for how good Lumen Christi is here this week. I believe they're playing Divine Child, who's a highly rated D4 team. That's going to be one of our best games this week. So that's interesting. But again, just no one's going to be surprised by these 2 teams being the top ones. Calumet is our 3rd best team in D6. Now, guys, these UP teams are hard to rate, okay? Same thing that's going on here is what was going on with the Downriver League. It's they all play each other. They don't get too many games outside of playing each other, right? And so it's hard to know how good the UP is year in, year out. But just look at that Calumet rating. I think they played Menominee pretty tough this week, right, Doak?
Yep.
And we know Menominee's good.
They lost by 10 to Menominee. They were favored, but, prior to that, they'd been beating up everybody. So it looks like Calumet and Menominee are probably the best 2 teams in the UP. But, time will tell.
So look for the Copper Kings to make a little run this year. We'll see. Obviously, they're going to have to contend with St. Francis and Kingsley. Kingsley is your number 5 team. Marine City, the way the bracket's shaping out here, Marine City's going to be – it looks like Marine City's going to make a nice run just because a lot of these teams are in the northern part of the state. Marine City's got the thumb on lock. They're team number 4. Ida, team number 6. I feel like Ida is always team number 6, and then Ida always runs into Lumen Christi. So something to keep an eye on there. Montrose, 7. Montrose last week was one of our only other teams to not give up a point. They finally gave up some points this week, but they still won. They're still undefeated. They're at team 7. Reed City, 8. Again, another Northern Michigan team in D6. That's a highly rated. So that northern side of the bracket, guys, with St. Francis, Calumet, Kingsley, and Reed City is going to be stacked. That's a stacked side of the bracket. Michigan Collegiate is your big faller. We told you that they lost at E-Course when they're not supposed to, according to the model. They were number 1 team last week. They have dropped since. They're still in our top 10, though. So still a good team. Still something to watch out. And then Olivet rounds out your top 10. All right, I'm going to jump to 7. Let's jump to 7. D7, our other UP team. Menominee is your number 1, followed up by Monroe, St. Mary Catholic Central, number 2. I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by those 2, and no one's going to be surprised by 3 and 4 either. Pewamo, Westphalia at 3, Whiteford at 4. Now, guys, there's quite a gap from Menominee and Monroe, St. Mary Catholic Central to teams 3 and 4. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but basically would say right now that Menominee is a 21-point favorite over Whiteford, your 4th best team, and a 18-point favorite over Westphalia. So something to keep an eye on, whether that gap stays that large or not. Laker is 5. Laker having a strong year. Millington, 6, your reigning D7 champ. Cass City, 7. So representing the thumb there, big time. Millington, Laker, Cass City. Ithaca, 8. Clinton, 9. Charlevoix rounds out your top 10. Let's jump. Final division. Sorry for everybody here listening to me drone on. It does take a while to get through 8 divisions. Now, guys, I want to point something out in D8 that no one's going to like, and we're going to get burned on Twitter for this, but Harbor Beach is being so highly rated by the computer model right now. So highly rated. Now, part of that's this bubble thing. It's hard. The thumb teams, they only play each other, and they don't get out to other games outside of the state very often. So maybe that's part of it. But Harbor Beach, basically, we're saying is as good as some of the D1 teams. I struggle to even say that because it's just, I'm going to get laughed off the stage for saying that. But that's what the computer's saying. And that's why Harbor Beach is your number 1 team with a rating of 44. If they played number 2 Hudson today, they would be a 12-point favorite. So, interesting. Hudson themselves is well above the pack. At number 2 spot, they are a 12-point favorite over Beale City, number 3. No one's going to be surprised to hear any of those names in the top 3. Again, those are traditionally very strong D8 teams. White Pigeon at 4, lighting up the scoreboard. Bark River Harris. Let's give another UPP team a shout out. This is shaping up the way this bracket's going to come out. Bark River Harris might make a little semi-run this year, and maybe, may find themselves in the finals because we're talking about a Harbor Beach and a Hudson who are down in the other part of the state. And so that's interesting to see. USA, Unionville Sebewing at 6, Glen Lake at 7, Saginaw Nouvelle Catholic Central at 8. Lutheran Seminary 9 and Iron Mountain at 10. Oh wow, okay. So I didn't realize Iron Mountain was in there, and if they have anything to say about it, Bark River Harris won't be making that run. So again, kind of some interesting things here in D8 and something to keep an eye on. Which teams improve their rating the most after week 4? We've got the stats. Let's jump in. Your number 1 most improved team from week 3 to week 4. Your biggest mover is Grand Rapids Christian. Big win over Spring Lake. They're a big mover. The model has their rating jumping up by 23 points. Followed up is Detroit Central, rating jumping by 19. East Grand Rapids jumping by 18. Traverse City St. Francis by 17. Detroit East English is your 5th biggest mover this week, 16. E-Course with a big win over Michigan Collegiate. Their rating jumps by 16. Benzie Central ratings jumped by 15. Flushing, Old Redford, and Muskegon. Those are your top 10 biggest movers after week 4's action. Look for that. Look to see if those trends continue. All right, top matchups, guys. You know how it goes. We take every game in the state and we rate it according to the Goose Poop game score. That is by 2 metrics. How good are the teams? How highly rated are the teams? And how close is the game going to be? What you want is a game between 2 good teams. That's going to be very close, right? Those are your best games. Your worst games are games that are not going to be close between 2 teams that are not very good. We're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about only the good ones. So here they are. Here's your top 5 this week. Your number 1 matchup in the state is Clarkston and Rochester Adams. It is 2 teams that are in your top 10 of D1. So a no-brainer there. And then a game that's supposed to be a 4-point favorite. So Clarkston or Adams being a 4-point favorite coming in. So definitely something you want to watch out. It's not supposed to be a lot of points there, over under of 33. So defensive battle for sure. Rochester Adams projected to win 19 to 15. So we'll see. Kind of a weird score there, but something to watch out. A smaller school game. Here's your number 2. We don't see this a lot. Usually it skews towards the larger schools having the better games. Lumen Christi and Divine Child. This is for that second tier of the Catholic High School League, a conference game. Divine Child has yet to give up an offensive point. Divine Child expected to win 23-21, so we're expecting their shutout streak to end this week. They're going up against a very good Lumen Christi team down at D6, or number 2 D6 team. So we expect Divine Child to win 23-21. We'll see. See if that happens, but something to watch out. That's your number 2 best game to attend this week. Number 3 best game is Northview and EGR. EGR is a huge riser this week after their big win last week. They're one of your top 5 biggest risers. We have them losing to Northview 20-18 in a very tight game. So that's something to watch out for as well. Again, all of these games are going to be very tight. Utica, Eisenhower, and Stevenson, no surprise that there's a MAC Red game in here. There's always MAC Red games in here every week. That's your game number 5. We've got Sterling Heights Stevenson over Eisenhower, 28-25 is our projected final score. A sneaky game, not one that might sneak past you. Kennewa Hills is your D3 number 6. Harper Creek's in your top 10 in D4. They're playing each other in a non-conference game. Kennewa Hills expected to win 35-32, so it's going to be a very close game, we're saying, with a lot of points. That actually might be one of the ones you want to attend if you like scoring. I think there's going to be a lot of scoring in Kennewa and Harper Creek. No surprise here. We've got a OK Red game in the top 10 games. Rockford and Granville. Rockford was just in here last week with East Kentwood, and I believe Granville was just in here last week with Caledonia. This is going to be a fun one. It always is. These teams are no strangers to each other. We've got Rockford by 8 this year. Rockford 24, Granville 16. We'll see. Not a lot of points either. We're not projecting a lot of points. Let's jump down. Let's do a few more here. Oxford and Lake Orion squaring off. We've got Oxford 25, Lake Orion 21. Another OK Red game, Grand Haven and West Ottawa. We've got Grand Haven 29, West Ottawa 28. So don't miss that one if you want a nail biter. That's only a 1-point spread. Our final game here in our top 10 games this week is a KLAA matchup. Guys, I don't know if we've talked about the Salem Rocks on this show yet this year. They're having a nice little year, and they are projected to beat Heartland by 2, 26-24. Very close game. Not a lot of scoring. Not a ton of scoring. We've got Salem over Heartland, 26-24. That is your 10th best game this week in the KLAA. So there you have it, Doak. That's your best games. A couple more I want to just give a shout out to. A couple more predictions. In D5, this is actually your 11th best game. Monroe Jefferson and Flat Rock. Jefferson having a nice year. We've got Jefferson 34, Flat Rock 34. That is a pick-em. You heard that right. They're, slight edge to Jefferson, I guess, but that is a 50-50 game. We've got Brighton and Northville, another KLAA matchup. We've got Northville 18, Brighton 12. With points, if you like points, check out Dow and Traverse City Central. Okay? We're projecting 70 of them. We've got Dow 40, 41, Traverse City Central 31. Zeeland East, Zeeland West, cross school matchup, sharing the same field over there in Zeeland. 21 for Zeeland West, 22 for Zeeland West, 16 for Zeeland East is our prediction. I'm just going to keep going through a number of these. Byron Center, Mona Shores, potential playoff matchup this year. Again, we've got Mona Shores 28, Byron Center 17. Saginaw Michigan Lutheran Seminary versus Saginaw Valley Lutheran. It's a Saginaw Lutheran showdown. Both teams, I think, pretty highly rated in D8. Saginaw Valley Lutheran, I'm not sure if they're D8 or not. Saginaw Michigan Lutheran Seminary is D8, but we've got that as 24 for Michigan Lutheran Seminary, 25. MLS 25, Saginaw Valley Lutheran 24. My last game I want to touch on, because it's a CHSL Central game, is Brother Rice and Toledo St. John's Jesuit. We've got Brother Rice 41, St. John's Jesuit 29. So, guys, those are some of your top matchups. That's what the computer model's spitting out. Hit us with any questions. You wanna know a game's projection that you don't see here? Just head to the website, Goose Poop. We've got them all. We project them all on our website. Head there, check it out. You can also subscribe to the newsletter for more.
If you could go to one of these games this week, where are you headed?
Well, I like that Lumen Christi and Divine Child matchup. That's not a matchup we see on here every year. Divine Child having a very good year this year, and again, you don't see the smaller schools have top games in here every week. Usually, it's dominated by the big schools, and so that one's going to tell us a lot about both teams. and that's where I'd be going. That's an exciting matchup to me. I also like that Harper Creek Kenowa Hills matchup as a sleeper one. Everybody's always talking about these D1 teams, ourselves included, right? Those are the biggest schools. But Harper Creek and Kenowa Hills, that's a sleeper game in D4, D3. Highly rated in their respective divisions by the computer, and we expect a lot of points. Over under of 67, and it's a close game. Kenowa Hills 35, Harper Creek 32. So go check that one out too. Those are my two favorite games this week. Okay, if you like points, these are our three best games. Lake Fenton and Nortonville Brandon. We think Lake Fenton will beat Brandon 46-40. A lot of points. That's your number one over under in the state this week. Number two over under is Almont and Crosslex. We think we've got Crosslex 52, Almont 33. Kind of a big point spread there for Crosslex. We'll see if that is actually how it plays out, but that's your second highest over under. The third highest, this is my last one I'm going to point to, Lincoln Park and Allen Park. The Battle of the Parks. We think Allen Park edges them out 49-32, but quite a few points. A lot of scoring, guys. So check those out if you like points. If you don't like points, if you like watching defense, if you want to see some grind them out games, your lowest over under in the state this week is Churchill in Livonia Stevenson. We've got Livonia Stevenson winning 12-3. Keep an eye on that one. That's interesting. That's your lowest over under in the state. We've got Harper Woods Chandler Park as your second lowest. We've got them winning 18-0 against Lincoln King, Detroit Lincoln King. Very similar, very close nearby matchup is your third lowest is Clawson 20, Warren Lincoln 0. And we've got Genesee 18, Burton Atherton 2. I'm not sure if you can really project out a score of 2 or you're counting on a safety there, but that's our fourth lowest point total. And those are the only ones under 20 this week. So again, just something to keep an eye on. Those are kind of interesting projections heading into the week. All right, so playoff race games. That's what you wanted? That's what the people want, Doak?
Yeah, that's what the people want.
The way we're going to do this is a little different this week than maybe we do it in coming weeks, but we're just going to kind of go through each division and talk about the bubble teams. And so teams that really need, wins when they can get them this week. So, and this is a lot of data. So I don't know. You'll just have to bear with us on this segment because it's not going to be clean. We're still working on it. But so basically we run this simulator. We run the Goose Poop computer model through the simulator that we've built. This is the predictions portion of our website. So if you actually click the predictions tab, you can see all of this. But it simulates the season 1,000 times. And it basically predicts, okay, well, what's your expected value of whether you make the playoffs or not? How many times out of those 1,000 times did you make the playoffs? And so what I'm about to give you is kind of the playoff locks in D1 according to that. So our playoff locks, these are teams that made the playoffs basically 97, we'll call it 90, well, we'll do the cutoff at 96% of the time. There's 22 of them. So 22 of 32 spots are already really spoken for. I'm just going to quickly go through the list. Woodhaven, Clarkston, Davison, Detroit Catholic Central, East Kentwood, Grand Blanc, Grand Ledge, Hudsonville, Rockford, Saline, West Bloomfield, Northville, Adams, Granville, Dakota, Cass Tech, Stony Creek, Belleville, Farmington, Howell, Oxford, and Sterling Heights, Stevenson are all playoff locks. Strong likelies. So these are our teams that are most likely going to make it, but could mess things up if they slip a game that they're supposed to win. In other words, these are teams with higher than 50% chances. Okay, and this ranges quite a bit from Ann Arbor Huron, who's got a 93% chance, to Salem, who has a 65% chance. There are 10 teams. So again, this is your 32-man field here. Your 10 teams who are likely to make it are Ann Arbor Huron, Romeo, Eisenhower, Jenison, Brighton, Fordson, Utica, Troy, Rochester, and Salem. Those are your next 10. Those are your last 10 in, so to speak. On the outside looking in, not likely to make it, but certainly have a fighting chance still. This is from 10. We're going to call from 10% odds all the way up to 50% odds. This is Dearborn, Holt, Heartland, Anchor Bay, Kalamazoo Central, Caledonia, Chippewa Valley, Lake Orion, and Ann Arbor Pioneer. All have a chance, in a decent chance, right? Ranging from 50%, coin flip for Dearborn, down to 10%. With Ann Arbor Huron or Ann Arbor Pioneer. Those teams can all make it, but they just need things to go their way. That's kind of your D1 picture. So again, it kind of seems like really it's narrowed to about 20 teams there that are fighting over the last 10 spots. So kind of interesting. 4 weeks into the year, we've got 20 teams fighting over 10 spots is what I would call it. Let's look at D2. We're only going to do the upper divisions here, but this is a lot of data to go through. So in D2, how many locks do we have? Less locks. So D2, the picture is less set in stone. We've got far less locks. We've only got 14 locks. Okay. We've got 14 locks in a bubble that's quite large, a bubble that is 18, that is 31 teams deep. So that's interesting. There's really not a lot of teams that are on the outside looking in yet. So interesting. Keep note. How big's the bubble in D3? In D3, we've got 19 teams locked up, roughly, in a bubble that is 27 teams deep. So keep your eye on that. D4 is more locked. D4 is less murky, guys. It's not a big bubble here. There's not a big bubble in D4. There's 20 teams locked, we're saying, and a bubble of 22. So kind of 22 teams fighting over the spots there.
Yeah, just head to our website if you want to check out, every division and really see the full scope of things on what people need to do to get into the playoffs, that kind of thing. There's just a lot of data here. We don't want to bore you to death, but yeah, that's kind of it for us. We're always posting on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We have a newsletter that goes out every Friday morning, so subscribe to that. This is our first run through. We'll get better at this as we go on. Thanks for checking it out. And if you stuck around to the end, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we apologize. Also, remember, we got no sponsors, guys, so check out TeamFi. That's the only thing we sell on this is our own product. So anyways, that's all we got, boys and girls, if there are any girls listening to this. So women, if there's any women listening to this, check it out.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and we'll be much improved like our model. So yeah.